Well, hello, my name is Jim Royal. I am a huge Beatles and Elvis Presley fan and basically classic rock in general. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. If you do a thumbs up, that's always most appreciated. And feel free to leave comments. I always enjoy reading them and I do my best to try to respond in a timely manner. Today what I wanted to do is talk about a rare Beatle out-of-print record. This is what you would call an unauthorized record, but it was on television in the early 70s. It was one of those mail order things. So you're watching a commercial late at night and you see this commercial talking about Beatle music and playing it and saying it's a 4-record set, and not only does it include Beatles songs, but it also includes solo Beatles on it. May probably package it like a greatest hits collection, and there was actually a volume 1 and there was a volume 2. So this came out, the one I'm talking about today, came out in 1972, and it is called Beatles, officially it's called Beatles Alpha Omega. And this says volume 1, and it is in stereo. I listened to it today and I was like, wow. It actually sounded pretty good. I wouldn't say it sounded spectacular, but it sounded good, because I think maybe some of these songs might be more mono, so I don't know if it was artificial stereo, not sure, but I spun and I thought, hey, it sounds pretty good. So anyway, this is a 4-record set. This was not authorized by Beatles, EMI, Capitol, anybody like that. It was a company that it says copyright 1972, TV Products, P.O. Box 8467, Cleveland, Ohio 44134. Okay. And I wanted to do a video on this because, you know, this is a real rarity. Okay, there were some copies that came out. There was that volume 2. Now volume 2 looks just like this, except it's gray and black and white, kind of like that. It's kind of more gray. I've seen it in the wild one time, but it was a little pricey and I decided to pass on it. And it is in a box set. Like I said, there's 4 records it's supposed to hold here. Now, this has seen better days. As you can see, it's not supposed to come, well, actually it is supposed to come off like that. But, you know, the edges here are not there anymore, but it is 50 years old. Looks like it was taped up in some cases here. But anyway, this is the front. And then this is the back. So it kind of looks like the casing for, you know, kind of like Bangladesh or something like that. Okay, those are the song titles on it. And what's interesting, it goes all over the place. It doesn't do anything in chronological order like, you know, you think it might do. It just goes all over. And some of the songs it chooses, while, you know, hey, we know that, you know, Beatles songs are great anyway, just kind of wonder, well, where did that come from? But I'm sure it was probably advertised as a best of, and there are fantastic songs on there. This is what the record looks like. So it came in these white sleeves. All of them look like this. Okay, and this is the first record. All of them look like this too. So this is Beatles Alpha Omega, side 1. And it is pink. There you go. That's the second side. So that's what it looked like. So I thought what I would do is I would read you the songs. What ended up happening was this prompted Capitol and EMI to basically sue them and to force them to stop selling these on television or anywhere else. It also prompted them to put out 2 best-ofs that were released in April of 1973. And we have the Beatles 1962 to 66, and then the Beatles 1967 to 1970. This was under Alan Klein, the manager at the time for 3 of the Beatles, who actually put these together, and this was released April of 73, and we know the rest, just fantastic, both of these. But we can thank Beatles Alpha Omega for putting them out when they did. And this first one was 1972 that I'm talking about, and then the next one was released in 1973. So let's talk about some of these songs. I'm going to go through the songs quickly and then kind of give you an idea of like what time frame they were from, because you can see it jumps all over. So the first song is Act Naturally, and that's from Help. That's a Ringo tune from 65. Then you've got All I've Got to Do. That's John from With the Beatles in 63. Then you've got All My Loving, another one from that same album, but this is Paul. Then you have And I Love Her, so that's Hard Day's Night era, 64, and that's Paul. Then you've got Babies in Black, that's both John and Paul from Beatles for Sale. Then you have Yesterday from 65, Paul from Help. And then you've got Ballad in John and Yoko, the 69 single with John and Paul playing all the instruments. And then here's an oddity, you have Bangladesh, which is a 1971 single from George Harrison solo. Alright, and then side 2, you have Can't Buy Me Love from Hard Day's Night in 64. Then it jumps up 5 years later, Come Together, Abbey Road, that's John. Then you have Day Tripper from 65, that's John and Paul. Then you have Do You Want to Know a Secret, that's from 63, Please Please Me. And then you have 8 Days a Week, that is from 64, around the Beatles for Sale era, and that's John and Paul. Then you have Eleanor Rigby, that's from Revolver in 1966, an excellent tune from Paul. And then you have Uncle Albert, a solo Paul from 1971 and from their Ram album, Paul Linda. So that's the first record. There are 3 more, so let's go on to the next one. So then you have side 3, starting out with I Should Have Known Better. That's from Hard Day's Night, 64, that's John. Then you have another John tune, It Won't Be Long, that's from With the Beatles in 63. Then you have I Want to Hold Your Hand, that's John and Paul in 63. And then you have Lady Madonna from 68 rather. So see how it's jumping all over, and that's a Paul tune. Then you go back to 65 with Ticket to Ride, John from Help. Then Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, another John tune, this one from 67's Sgt. Pepper. Then you have Michelle from Rubber Soul, and that's Paul. And then you have Mr. Moonlight, John, doing a cover, okay, and that's from Beatles for Sale. And then on side 4 you have I Feel Fine, a nice tune from John in 64. Then you have If I Fell, another Hard Day's Night tune with John singing lead. Then you have I'll Be Back, that's John and Paul from that same album in 64. Then you have Hey Jude. So here we go, jump up to 68, that's Paul. Then you have I'm a Loser, that's from Beatles for Sale, that's John. Then you have I'm Happy Just to Dance With You, that's George singing lead on a John tune from Hard Day's Night. And then you have I Saw Her Standing There, and that's from Please Please Me, and that's Paul. Okay. So isn't it amazing? It's just kind of a rare oddity album, but it's fun. It's fun how they came up with what they did. So then you have Nowhere Man on side 5. It starts it off. That's from Rubber Soul, John. And then you have Obla Di, Obla Da, the White Album. That's Paul in 68. Then you have Paperback Writer. That's 66. That's Paul. Then you have Penny Lane. That's 67. The Strawberry Fields Forever Penny Lane single in 67. Then you have Help, John in 1965's Help. Then you have Roll Over Beethoven, George. And then you have Sgt. Pepper Lonely Hearts Club Band. I think Roll Over Beethoven, wasn't it from With the Beatles, if I'm not mistaken? And then you have Sgt. Pepper Lonely Hearts Club Band, 67, and that's Paul. Alright, side 6, Get Back. Okay, so you got that, Let It Be, that's 69. Then you have Hello Goodbye, which was a single in 67 and later on Magical Mystery Tour. Then you have Revolution Number 1. So this is the acoustic version, not the hard, the rock out version that was the single. And that's John in 68 on the White Album. Then you have Here Comes the Sun, a nice George tune from Abbey Road in 69. Then you have I'll Follow the Sun, which is from Beatles for Sale, from Paul, but written much earlier. Then you have Imagine, so there's another solo one. This one's from John, excellent tune. Then you have Honey Don't. Well, that was in 64. That's Ringo, Honey Don't. Cover tune, Carl Perkins. And then finally the last record, we're starting side 7. We have We Can Work It Out. That is John and Paul, but I think more Paul than anything. With a Little Help from My Friends, that's 67. So you had 65 and then you jumped to 67. And that's, of course, Sgt. Pepper. Then you have Yellow Submarine, which is 66, Revolver, Ringo singing that tune. Baby You're a Rich Man, that's John, a B-side in 67. Later on Magical Mystery Tour, and then that You Can't Do That, that's from A Hard Day's Night. So it seems like, John again, it seems like there's a lot coming from A Hard Day's Night off this album, off this collection. And then you have You've Got to Hide Your Love Away, that's from John from Help. Then you have Maybe I'm Amazed, that's Paul, from the from his McCartney album in 1970. So this is solo Paul, which is interesting and fun that it's on here. And then you have A Hard Day's Night, the title cut from that album in 64, and that's John. Then finally, the last side, you have She Loves You, that's John and Paul, 63. Something from, again, another George tune. This is from Abbey Road, 69. Strawberry Fields Forever, 67, John. Then you have Tell Me Why, which is from A Hard Day's Night again. I'm willing to bet, like, pretty much we were to go through this, pretty much all of the Hard Day's Night songs are represented on here. So that's Tell Me Why, that's John in 64. Then The Long and Winding Road and Let It Be, both songs from 69, but they were released in 1970 on Let It Be. And then you have Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby, which is an excellent cover tune that George does, and I think that was from Beatles for Sale. So anyway, I wanted to do this video just to tell you that there are other Beatle product out there than just what Capitol and EMI promotes. And this one, while it was unauthorized, it was actually a mail order thing on television. You could call and get this, like John Lennon's Rock and Roll Roots. But, pick it up. There are copies out there, and it's a fun collection to have. So thank you very much for watching my video. Take care. Bye.